quick line, that's it. It is a beautiful thing. Look at that.
Ladies and gentlemen and friends beyond the binary, welcome to Culinary Delights, the finest food cooking show in all the land. I'm your host, Amanda Bonanza, and this is your co-host. I'm your co-host, Amanda Bonanza, and this is your co-host, Lilith Electra. We're here to discuss a delightfully British recipe, aren't we, Lilith?
That immediately put me on edge. Like, there's going to be like pig's livers stuffed with goose bills or something.
Well, it's not that.
Is it going to feed my hungry boys? That's the real question.
This is not going to feed your hungry boys. This is not at all going to feed your hungry boys, but it is a fucking crazy ass British recipe that I found. Oh, my potty mouth. I'm sorry for potty mouth.
That's okay.
Everyone watching, I'm sorry for my potty mouth. And maybe I'll bring back the poshness, but it is a posh British recipe. But I do strongly regret that having discovered this recipe in time for our holiday special, because this is Victorian Christmas pudding. That doesn't tell you exactly what it is.
Here's what I've learned. If a British person says pudding, it does not mean what you think it means.
Well, that's almost certainly true.
Yeah.
I don't know what you, the viewer, might think this is, but you'll see exactly what this is. Now, the only thing that I can take solace in, because it is a Christmas pudding. Now, the thing that works, that we're doing this in February, is that you can age this. You can make it, and then you can age it. So technically, you could make this pudding today and save it and bust it out at Christmas, because that's the kind of recipe this is.
All right. Let me brace myself for this wild ride.
Are you ready, Lilith?
I'm not getting less ready, so yeah, let's do it.
We're going to start with an introduction and a history here.
Thank God. I am so sick of jumping straight in with no history.
Traditionally prepared on Stir-Up Sunday, which I don't know what that is. The last Sunday, here it is, the last Sunday before the start of the Advent season, which I presume is Christmas. I don't know. Maybe that's like the 12 days of Christmas and where that comes from. I don't know anything about weird British Christian things. So like maybe that's a whole thing and that's like why. But last Sunday before the start of the Advent season, Christmas pudding is a must-serve on Christmas Day in most British households. The recipe is relatively straightforward. Flour, breadcrumbs, suet, dried fruits, candied peels, sugar, spices, salt, and alcohol, mostly brandy, but rum and beer are also used, are mixed into a mass. The mass is then pressed into
Hold on. Any recipe that uses the term mass, you got it. That's a red flag right there.
All the flags are red.
There are no, crimson, vermilion.
A delightful British crimson.
Yeah.
The mass is then pressed into a mold.
Of course.
In the past, the mass was wrapped in a cloth, resulting in a cannonball shape, which right out of the gate, yum.
All my favorite food is cannonball shaped.
Like cannonballs. And steamed for several hours.
Well,
the steamed pudding needs to be stored in a dark and cold place, perfect for Victorian England, wrapped in a cloth to mature until Christmas Day, but can be served immediately.
Okay.
Customarily, the pudding is lit on fire right before it's brought to the table. For a more dramatic effect, the room where the Christmas dinner is served is kept completely dark, so the flaming pudding is distinctly visible as it's being brought in. Well, I would hope so.
I would like to think that if the lights were on, I'd still notice a flaming ball of candied peels and brandy was being brought in.
Well, and also this also makes it the perfect dish to serve in a cave. Whether you're in a British home or a cave, this is the perfect dish to serve on Christmas Day. It is often garnished with a branch of holly. As far as serving is concerned, Christmas pudding is often paired with brandy butter, brandy sauce, custard, or lemon sauce. So that's our introduction and our history. These are the ingredients.
Okay.
6 servings comprised of 75 grams of flour, 75 grams of breadcrumbs, 150 grams of suet.
I'm sorry.
You know what suet is?
What is suet?
Well, let's find out, shall we? Suet is the raw, hard fat of beef, lamb, or mutton found around the loins and kidneys. The primary use of suet is to make tallow, though it is also used as an ingredient in cooking, especially in traditional baked puddings, such as British Christmas pudding.
You know what? I'm going to whip this up. And then we looked up what suet was, and I'm like, I'm not going to whip this up.
Can you explain to our viewers what tallow is?
Isn't tallow just like the rendered fat?
It's the kind of rendered fat that you use to make soap.
And candles.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what tallow is.
I'm ready.
So put that in your Christmas pudding. 150 grams of raisins, so equal amount of suet and raisins.
And currants.
150 grams of currants. I feel like
Currants.
Black currants.
Black, you can get black ones. My grandma used to have them.
Different. Yeah, there's golden currants.
Yeah,
they're currants.
Currants. They're currants.
Currants.
Have you ever had a currant?
Of course I have.
No, you haven't.
You're right, because I've had currants.
No, my grandmother had some growing on her farm, and we would make
That's the most fucking Milwaukee shit.
We would make currant
have
pie.
Some black currants.
Some currant pie. Fruit and beef fat and bread and flour, okay? And then a chopped apple.
In my opinion, that's how I say it. Lilith says currants. Who's to say who's right or wrong? Nobody can.
No one.
Nobody can.
We live in a post-fact world. No one knows what's right or wrong. So 1 chopped apple.
100 grams of a chopped apple, roughly 1 large apple.
I say apple.
She does say apple. Apples and bananas. 125 grams of sugar.
Sure.
125 grams of sugar. 50 grams of candied peel.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is candied. So that's like any peel of probably any citrus fruit. So you can use like lemons, limes, oranges.
I'm gonna be real honest. I have a lot of this stuff for making what's the German bread?
Fruitcake?
No. It's like a bread that's got like all the candy in it. You like the candy.
Do you know what you're talking about? Like it's like a dessert bread.
Stollen. I whip up a stollen. Yeah. I got all this stuff in my pantry for it.
A half teaspoon of mixed spice, and if you don't have that, you can substitute a half teaspoon of nutmeg plus a half teaspoon of mace, which seems weird
because mace is just
whole teaspoon.
Also, like mace is just the shell of nutmeg.
No, mace is a spice.
No, it's comes from the shell of nutmegs.
Maybe, but it's its
own
thing.
It is. Look,
I believe you.
I bake, and I looked that up because I couldn't find mace, and they're just like, yeah, it's just like the shell that nutmeg comes in. So if you don't have mace, just use nutmeg.
I have mace. And nutmeg, and they're different. That's like it's like the difference between coriander and coriander seeds, really.
I understand that. I understand that.
Things. Cumin and cumin seeds.
If you don't have mace, most recipes just say just use nutmeg instead of mace.
Which is what this says, but it's going to use but the recipe actually calls for mixed spice,
what is mixed spice?
Mixed spice is the simplest way to make mixed spice. The simplest way to make mixed spice is to mix 1 tablespoon of ground allspice, 1 tablespoon ground cinnamon, 1 tablespoon ground nutmeg, 2 teaspoons ground mace, 1 teaspoon ground cloves, 1 teaspoon ground coriander, and 1 teaspoon ground ginger. The mixed spice should be stored in an airtight container and in a dark place. So it's Christmas spice.
Question.
It's Christmas spice.
Question.
Yeah.
This recipe will make 8 teaspoons of spice.
Right. When you make mixed spice,
how much do I need?
You use a half teaspoon.
So if I'm making a Christmas pudding every year, this is like 16 years worth of mixed spice.
I don't think this is assuming that you're only gonna use this for Christmas pudding. There's other things, like I'm sure like you could use mixed spice for other things. This is it's a thing. Mixed spice is a thing. It's like garam masala. It's like any other mix of spices, like a dry rub for like pork or beef, or like a garam masala, or
I understand. I'm just saying this is like if an alien came down and they said, what is mixed
seasoning?
They said, what's mixed spice? And then the first ingredient of mixed spice is something called allspice. It sounds like a giant prank being pulled.
We can make fun of this, but I mean, and we're allowed to make fun of that too. But like, I mean, that's cooking. You're a baker, you know these things. You know allspice is a spice. And yes, it is absurd that there is a spice called allspice. It's fucking dumb because it don't taste like all the spices.
No, it doesn't.
You're right. That's a bad name. Allspice is a bad name. Mixed spice is a bad name. But it is British, and in British it is mixed spice.
So I'm just putting my mind around this. So I got flour, animal fat, dried fruit, and spices. That's right.
Just any animal fat, because butter's animal fat, lard's animal fat.
No, you're right. Tallow.
Animal fat. Tallow. Or suet specifically, which is used to make tallow, which is, but like it's specifically the animal fat that's used to make soap.
All the explanations doesn't make this sound any grosser or less gross.
Less gross for sure.
Yeah.
Pinch of salt.
Sure.
Fair enough.
1 pinch of salt,
100 milliliters of brandy plus 50 milliliters for serving.
Sure.
And 3 small eggs whisked.
Fair enough.
Oh yeah, like you said, like dried fruit, an apple, sugar, of course, candied peels of fruit. I mean, these aren't necessarily all egregious. The suet's kind of egregious. Like,
also,
I feel like
when they say
a gross ingredient.
When they say 3 small eggs, they mean like quail eggs, or because like when I go to the store, I just buy a carton of eggs. I don't buy large.
But when you buy, you do have the option. You usually don't see small eggs, but remember, this is a British recipe, and they might.
Sickly British chickens.
Sickly, like we have weirdly large food in the United States.
Do.
Our eggs are no exception. We have extra large eggs, which is the standard.
Sure.
But small eggs do exist. Like if you ever get like actual chicken eggs laid from one of your neighbors or something, the eggs are generally smaller than what you buy in the store.
Yeah.
And taste way better too.
Yeah. And this recipe is still disgusting.
Well, I mean, it's British. Preparation. Step 1.
Sure.
Add all the dried ingredients to a large bowl and mix them until combined. Then add the wet ingredients and mix. Now, it could be argued that that's 2 steps, but like I think it's fair enough. We can call that a step. Would you agree? So mix everything together. You know, basically, mix the dry stuff, then mix the wet, then mix it all. Yeah,
I don't need to think about these ingredients anymore. So let's just say mix the ingredients.
They're all in there. Yeah, just throw everything in a bowl and mix it together.
Yeah.
Step 2, brush the insides of the 1.2 liter mold generously with butter.
Should have included butter.
This is going to work if you're using a bag, like it said. Put butter,
Should have put butter in the ingredients.
Like, but if you're using a bag, I guess you don't need it because this is greasing a pan. So you can
I'll just throw it in one of my baking bags.
Well, this is what it says. You put it in a bag and you shape it like a cannonball. It's just, you know that
bag.
Or you use a Jello mold and you grease it with butter.
That black bag that you use to kidnap people, you throw it over the head. Just dump your mixture in there.
Burlap sack. Just use a burlap sack. Step 3: transfer the mixture into the mold, taking care the mass is compact but not overly packed. Well,
that's
good
helpful.
advice.
That's fucking helpful.
It's a little bag, but it is good advice. I mean, you got to use your good judgment. So this is trusting you because this is a posh British recipe.
Right.
It assumes you know what you're doing. It's a Victorian recipe.
You don't want to ruin Christmas by overpacking your mass.
Don't ruin Christmas. Take care. The mass is compact, but not overly packed. For a more traditional approach, you can wrap the mixture in a cloth to get the cannonball shape. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. That's where the burlap sack comes in.
Yeah.
Put the mold in the sack.
Oh my God. And then the next sentence is another one of these weird instructions.
If you decide to do so, do not tie the string too tightly or too close to the mixture, as it will expand as it steams. So keep a loose tied sack around your cannonball of fruit mesh. That's the rule. Mix your shit together, clump it into a ball, put it into a bag, and tie it loosely.
But not too tight, because it's going to expand when you steam it.
Delicacy any way you slice it. Step 4. Cover the mold with a large, wet, and floured cloth. Make a fold in the cloth so the pudding has room to expand.
Sure.
Secure the cloth by tying a string around the mold. And I feel like this is all covered in step 3. That, except this is details for that part.
Yeah.
Take the 2 opposite ends of the cloth and tie them together. Then take the other 2 opposite ends of the cloth and tie them together. The tied cloth will act as a handle. So square cloth, put your cannonball in the middle, drape the cloth up and tie 2 ends, and then tie the other 2 ends to the tied 2 ends. But not too tight because it's going to expand. Are you with me? That seemed overly convoluted.
It does. For basically like steamed tallow and fruit.
Mash your raisins and your orange peels and your fat and your tallow
into a melted candle,
and then put it in a bag and tie it up. What you gotta do?
I feel like this is going to end in this is going to be like a Lovecraftian horror at the end, and I'm actually going to become a little more insane when we get to the end of this. All right, place the mold.
Place the mold in a tall pan filled with boiling water. What would you consider a tall pan?
Maybe like a frying pan that has like a 2 or 3 inch edge.
Like a baking pan count, like a hot dish. Is that a tall pan?
No, because then you can't boil water in that.
No, you put the boiling water in it. You don't boil water in it. You put boiling water in it.
Oh my God! Yeah, I guess maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know what constitutes a tall pan.
No, it has to be.
Yeah, like a saucepan would be a tall pan,
that's not going to steam for 4 hours if you're not heating
it. A Dutch oven, would that be a tall pan?
That's too tall.
That's too tall.
Yeah.
This is quite the mystery.
So imagine that the mold is like
a fucking private detective.
No. Imagine the mold.
Let's get Hercule Poirot on case.
Imagine the mold is like a bundt cake pan.
That's what I'm thinking.
And then you're putting that in like a high-edged frying pan that has boiling water in it. But 4 hours, that water's not going to stay boiling or hot for 4 hours.
This is what it says to do. No,
I agree with you. I'm just, there are more questions than answers.
Well, it's got to reach halfway up the mold. So, because the water should reach halfway up the mold. So the pan's got to be tall enough to hold at least half the mold.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So probably like a big saucepan or a Dutch oven.
Yeah.
Yeah. The water should reach halfway up the mold. Then cover the pan with a lid and steam for about 4 hours.
Okay.
That's what they say to do. It doesn't say to put it on any heat or anything.
You're right.
I feel like it should go on heat. Like it would seem to me you pour the boiling water and then you keep that on like a low heat. Like that's what I would think. But it doesn't say to do that.
I mean, if we're gonna be
4
honest,
hours is it's gonna cool.
we're gonna be honest.
But maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's like
Can I be
how
honest
it
with you?
works.
Can I just be real honest with you? This is being served on Christmas Day, and is being put in that mold a good month before.
Not necessarily
Christmas.
a couple days, maybe. The Sunday before the Advent starts.
Yeah, that's like a month. Advent is like a month.
Is it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, that's how long this shit's been sitting in this mold. So how hot the water is doesn't really seem to be too much of a concern about.
Seems like you're not going to leave it in the water for like a month.
No, but you're like it's been sitting in the dark for a month, and now you're gonna
better be dark. You don't want that. Like you
don't want anyone to see
it. Like a jar of mayonnaise.
And then you're just gonna boil it for 4 hours. Okay, let's just keep going. Let's just go.
Step 6: when done, carefully unmold onto a plate.
Okay. The word mold is in this too much for a recipe.
It really is.
It's quite unsettling.
I don't believe it's unsettling if you're British. Mold being an entirely different thing.
Fair enough. Yeah, cool. Good on you,
7.
British.
I love being British.
I love being British. Mummy, is the Christmas pudding ready to pull out of the dank basement?
It's still okay to make fun of the British. It's still punching up.
Oh, yeah. No.
Step 7. When ready to serve, first, gently heat the brandy, then pour it over the pudding and set it alight. So you'll light it on fire when you serve it. In a pitch dark room.
Do you have to heat it first? What does heating it first do to anything?
Heat the brandy up because you don't.
I'm sure it does something. You're gonna light it on fire.
I'm sure it does something. Like I'm sure there's a reason that you heat it first. Like it probably produces some sort of chemical reaction that makes the brandy light better or last longer or something. Like there's definitely a reason that you would do that. I just don't happen to know what the reason is. But like I that makes sense to me that you would do that. Like
fair enough.
I mean, or maybe it is just a waste of time.
Might be.
That's why, to waste your time.
Oh my god, I left this thing in a dark room for a month, and then I ruined it by not heating the brandy first.
You know what it is? It's one of those trappings of the aristocracy where it's like,
yes, the trappings of the aristocracy.
They served a Christmas pudding when topped with cold brandy.
They lit the brandy on fire, but didn't heat it first. Can you imagine?
Can you imagine? I shudder to think.
Ugh.
How someone could be of such poor taste to serve a Christmas pudding with cold brandy.
Oh, I took my goose beak casserole home and I celebrated Christmas alone.
Oh, dreadful.
Dreadful. Yeah, no shit. No shit.
I got ratings.
No shit. You're kidding me. No way. What?
This is rated.
No.
2.9 stars overall, ranked number 29 as the worst rated dessert in the world.
That's insane that you would call this a dessert.
It is the second worst rated English dessert.
What's the worst?
So, I don't know.
Oh my god. There's something worse.
Well, what's wild is that there's only 2 English desserts that are in the top 29 worst in the world.
Oh, how do you fuck up dessert?
I feel like there should be at least 5 in there. Like, there's gotta be, right?
I'm being real honest with you. I feel like a lot of these top 30 worst desserts, a lot of it's like cultural thing. Like, white people went to another country, tried the dessert, like, this dessert is garbage. This is a white people dessert.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's Anglo-Saxon, if you...
Like, that has to count for something. It's one thing to go to some place where they have a different culture and a different taste and different ingredients and what they call dessert, and then I go there and I don't like it. That's fine. That's a cultural difference. It's another thing that, like, hey, we're white people, and this dude's like, what if we rolled candle wax with breadcrumbs and candy and let it sit in the dark for 30. Fuck you. This is the worst. This is the worst.
There's some fucking Skittles and some gummy bears costing allspice mixed with soap.
The worst rated English.
Buy some Palmolive.
The worst English dish in the world is a pie crust filled with gummy worms and Caro syrup, and then baked until it's hard.
The last stat there is it's the number 5 worst rated English dish.
Damn.
So it's the second worst English dessert, but number 5 worst English dish. So, which is, I don't know if that's a crazy stat or not, because like, I think of all countries, if any country on earth, there might be like 1 or 2 Scandinavian countries that like have the reputation for having food as bad as England. But like England is notoriously stereotyped as having terrible food.
I'm going to counter that anything like Scandinavia, Finnish, that is another thing where it's a cultural thing. Like, yes, they're white people as well, but it's a heavy fish and cold culture.
I don't think it's a cultural thing to say that lutefisk is fucking disgusting.
No, but I'm saying like if you were to travel the world, like if I'm traveling the world, I'm going to go to sub-Saharan Africa. I'm going to go to India, Mongolia, to northern Russia. I'm going to go to Finland. I'm going to go to these places where they have a cultural difference and ingredients that I'm not used to, and it's going to be shocking for me. England doesn't have that excuse.
Well, here's the wild thing, is like England notoriously like plundered Earth and murdered millions and millions of people for spices.
And then they made this.
And then they made this.
And then they made this.
Put beans on toast.
Beans on toast? I would take beans on toast over this any day.
Any day. In fact, beans on toast isn't that bad. It's just like a little
lazy. A little lazy.
Yeah, it's a little yeah, I mean, it's not great, but like it's not terrible, but like, okay, but going back to the lutefisk thing, like, because lutefisk to me is inherently disgusting. So that's like cold fish and mayonnaise.
I agree.
But like, there's other cold cultures, like for example, Russian food. Like I've had Russian food that I loved. I love stroganoff. Like I love gazpacho. Yeah. Like there's plenty of Russian food that I've had that's good, and that's a cold. And like if it's fish based, like, well, sushi's delicious. There's lots of fish that you can do very well with.
Well, you're not going to get much sushi from some of that fish you're getting up in those northern climates. They're just not big enough to make like. Either way, I think the point being, fuck this.
Well, yeah, this is especially terrible, and it's the worst rated English dish.
I am going to have nightmares,
which is a strong contender for first. Like, well, it's the number 29 worst rated dessert in the world.
I'm going to have nightmares.
Number 5 worst rated English dish.
I'm going to have nightmares about what the worst rated English is. Like, what is it, like ground horse teeth snorted up like cocaine, and that's like the number 1 worst British dessert?
I'm also, now you've piqued my interest. I don't know. I'd like to know what the 4 that beat it are. Like, I'd love to know.
Ugh.
Anyway, this is what Benedict Keynes had to say about it.
Benedict even sounds British.
I don't like it. 1 star.
1 star. You gotta appreciate the convictions. I mean, I appreciate the honesty.
Came straight out of the gates.
It's just like, this is garbage.
Pull any punch-ins.
Here's the other thing. Benedict read the recipe and then still made it to say that he didn't like it. But Benedict couldn't read that list of ingredients, read that you keep this ball in a bag in the dark for a couple weeks, and then you steam it. That, I mean, maybe still I might like it. He had to make it, and then he's like, I don't like it.
That's possible. The other possibility is someone else made it and he tried it and he hated it so much that he decided to go on this recipe website and say, I don't like it, 1 star.
Well,
Could be
but that's the thing,
happened.
like if someone else made it, it
But
could have been one of those
probably not.
people's like, I didn't have any allspice or
I just
I
changed
didn't have any
everything
mixed
around.
spice, so I just used salt.
I didn't have any raisins, so I used sun-dried tomatoes.
I didn't have a dark place, so I left it on my roof for 30 days in January.
You see, but this is just Benedict Keynes, and so
Yeah,
we have
someone else.
another
There's got to be a better one here.
Carson Nelson loves it. 5 stars. Very, 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 very good.
That's
100
bullshit.
berries there.
That's
and you
bullshit.
can tell that this was typed out because right at the top there's no space between 2 of the berries. Like periodically, like so. This is like a terrible, horrible word search.
He's trying to trick us into making it. Nice try, Carson Nelson.
From Big Christmas Pudding.
He's from Big Multi-Spice.
He's from Big Tallow.
He's from Big Tallow. Oh, this is so good. Mmm. He eats it on video and just like puts it behind his mouth like yum yum yum.
I perfected.
Oh my lord.
And here it is.
Mm.
This is our delicious. It doesn't show it on fire because I guess they had to cut it. But
it is on fire. It is on fire. You can see the blue at the blue at the top.
You're kind of right. Yeah, it is on fire.
I'm gonna be real honest with you. This does not look as unappetizing as the ingredients list. Like I've had like sticky toffee pudding is kind of like this brown pudding. Like until you know what's in there, you're just like, oh, this is like a dessert that someone made, and it's like but man,
this looks gross to me. I mean, I don't like the colors.
The color is unsettling.
The colors are unappetizing. The glossiness is unappetizing. The shape is unappetizing. I mean, that's the shape of the mold. It could be in a cannonball shape. Just plop it down, and like that might even be better. But like, the way this looks, there's not the glossiness, and I know that's because it's glazed with brandy. Yeah, but not the inside, right? Like, and like the like. All of it is just like the overall just look of it is just to me I find wholly unappealing. This is not something I would ever want. And I would try it. And I'd be like, but like I'm only stating it does not look as unappetizing as the recipe reads. Fair enough. That's fair enough. That it is a pretty gross sounding recipe.
It's a pretty bad sounding recipe.
I'm biased because in general I don't like desserts really anyway. But like I don't like Christmas desserts especially. Sure. Like I don't like that mixed spice flavor, that all that stuff put together, the minty kind of Christmassy nutmeggy flavor. Really I don't like it. It just doesn't, it's never sat well with me. I don't like gingerbread cookies. I don't like Christmas cookies. Like I don't like eggnog. Like I don't like any of that stuff. It's just, to me, it's just like unappealing in general. And this looks like it tastes like that. Like I can imagine the Christmas taste that this has.
Yeah, I get you.
And it's
and
then raisins and orange peels in there. I'm just like,
I'm going to take a second though and salute you.
You know what else has raisins and orange peels in it that I do like?
Stollen.
A1 sauce, steak sauce.
Oh man,
steak sauce has raisins and orange peels in it, and I like that.
I don't use steak sauce. I just make my steaks. I make my steaks good enough that they don't need sauce.
I mean, that's what a lot of people say, and a lot of people get uppity in it. But I like my steak.
I mean, I'm not getting up.
I like steak sauce on hamburgers too.
Oh, now you're talking. Yeah, you kick up your hamburger.
What I use. Well, I mean, I use it for steak though too, because I like dipping my steak in sauce. Yeah. And you know what else I'm going to admit? I also like my steak medium. I don't like it medium rare.
That's fair. That's fair.
Well, a lot of people will chide me for that and say I'm not a true fan of steak, and that might be true. I might not be a true fan of steak, but I like
medium is not
general.
Medium is not bad. I think if you're getting well done steaks, it's like why are you paying for steak if you're just going to get it well done? Medium is fine.
I would prefer a medium well steak to a medium rare steak.
Oh, okay.
I would prefer it. I will never ask for a medium well steak. Okay. But I will ask for a medium well burger. When they ask you, you go to a fancy burger place, they like, how do you want your burger? Medium well. Fuck yeah, I want my burger fucking cooked. Okay. Like, and in general, I just tend to like tougher meat. I just like meat tough. Like, I just do, and maybe that's my Milwaukee upbringing and all
we're
that.
Like all over the place here.
I don't like the kind of meat that like is fatty and melts in your mouth. I like to chew my meat.
Okay.
Just saying.
Okay. I mean, no.
This dessert probably tastes like steak sauce. Is what I'm getting.
Oh, it's like glaze it with A1 and light it on fire.
Flaming hot steak sauce.
Yeah. But I salute you for finding this. This is a good Culinary Delights recipe for us to go over today and thoroughly discussed our viewing audience.
You know, I'll bet you there's some people out there that not only have made this before, but like probably do like it, and we'd love to hear from you. Let us know. Let us know your thoughts on Victorian Christmas pudding.
I will tell you this.
That's a thing you do. Your family does.
If someone comments and says they've either made this or had it and they love it, I will go out of my way to try to find some suet, and I will try to make this myself.
I don't think you have to go far. Just your local soap factory.
Just like, oh yeah, just the hog rendering plant down the block.
Just go down to the local abattoir.
But you have to legit. Don't just post like, oh, I tried this and I love it, just to make me make it. Like, I really want someone who's had it and like is passionate about it and like, no, give it a chance. I will give it a chance.
Let us know. Tell us how wrong we are.
Yeah.
How we fucked this all up, and how it actually is a delicious, wonderful Victorian delicacy.
If you say so, I'm gonna.
We're not the ones that said it was the fifth worst dessert in the world.
Yeah, that's the world talking.
That wasn't us.
That's not us. Now I need to find out what this
was the International Food Council.
The International Council on Heaving.
That's the fucking War Crimes Council at the Hague.
Right? Fuck! You serve this at Christmas, you're going to prison.